Hello, thank you for joining our network training. This is Brian with BattlefieldResumes.com, and today I'll be speaking with Bruce Benedict, the owner of Battlefield Resumes, on the importance of networking.
Now, I'm going to give you a scenario.
Okay.
Right? Because you're really, really good at this.
Well, first
now,
let's
I'm not that good at this.
let's first
You are
say.
really
Well, this is BattlefieldResumes.com at its best, and so let's one, if there's anybody out there listening to this podcast, they can call in, and so we do have a call-in number. It's 929-477-4063, and again, it's 929-477-4063. You can call in on your cell phone while you're driving in the car. You can call in while you're at your house watching TV, whatever. So if you have a question for myself or Bruce, feel free to give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. But right now we're talking about how networking affects people and how important it is to actually landing a job and position. Most of the things that we do come from networking, whether we want to accept that or not. Your experience is great and it gets you in the front door, but your networking also does that too, and you have to. It's not really about who you know, but it's about who knows you. So your character is so important. So go ahead, Bruce. What were you saying a few minutes ago?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I wanted to try to give the audience, basically a how-to guide. All right. So, for instance, you're really good at this, and for me, like I was saying, I'm not. I like long-term relationships, and I'm really good at, trying to build those and the loyalty that goes along with it. I love that. Networking has never been a strength of mine. Hey, that's why you're here, man, because you're good at it. We're twins, and you're good at that half.
All right. You're right.
So now what I want to do is I want to put certain scenarios in
Okay.
your lap. Now,
Sure.
This is unexpected, all right?
Yeah, this is impromptu here.
But
Improv.
I'm going to throw a couple scenarios. Right, improv. This is good stuff. I want to throw a couple scenarios at you that I see almost every week. I saw it today. I was at the Tech Expo a hiring event today. Saw it today. And so I'm going to throw these at you, and I want you to tell us how you would do it. All right?
All right. Sure, go ahead.
Because anybody listening should take notes and go, okay, I'm going to try this, right? Because this is really how it's done. I mean, everyone tells us what to do, but, it gets old being told what to do. I want to tell people how to do this stuff.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So I'm standing at a conference today, and I'm doing a seminar for 1 hour on job fair strategy, right? And look, that's my specialty, how to target and tailor resumes for a job fair, for the job you want, any of that stuff. There's about 50 people in the audience, and they're all sitting next to each other. I don't know if anyone actually talked to each other, okay? But let's just say, for instance, that we were that you were in the audience there, and you recognize the person sitting next to you as somebody who works at one of the companies at the job fair that you wanted to apply to.
Okay.
All right? Okay. So let's take a step back. So on my strategy for job fairs is the job fair you're going to in a week, let's say. So you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go to every one of those websites of all the companies that are going to be there next week. I'm going to find the jobs that I want. So now you found, let's say, the 6 jobs you want to apply to. You know the companies that are offering those. And you happen to realize, because you got to the job fair early, that the person working behind the booth of the company that's offering the job that you want just happens to be sitting right next to you during the seminar before the hiring event starts.
Right.
All right. Now, you're talk to the individual and express that you care for them, or you are there to help them, or they can trust you.
Right.
How do you do that, Brian?
Well, I tell you, the first thing is you have to. I have to have a pleasing personality. It takes a little bit of energy to be able to do it. You have to have a calm and confident voice. Okay. And again, the energy and the enthusiasm, you don't want to be too much. You don't want to be, it's kind of a happy medium. So if I know that and I'm sitting down next to that person, I'm going to energize myself. And realistically, I mean, I've been in front of a lot of people on the stage for years, but if I do like my own time, so I'm kind of on my time. I'm behind closed doors, and I like my own solitude sometimes. But I think you have to have a reserve tank of energy, and because it does take energy to be able to network appropriately and properly. Because I can just picture I'm walking into a conference room, and you have about 50 people there, and there's a chair that's open, and I recognize that guy or that lady who I know is an employee there that is in management or hiring or something. So first of all, I gotta put in my confident inner being, I guess you could say. Okay, and I have to shift into energy. Okay. Now, not to say that I'm going to be talking fast. I'm not going to be doing any of that, because what I do is I take a deep breath before I even have walked in any place. Now, this sounds a little strange too, Bruce, but before I do anything, I go to the restroom a lot. Okay, and I say that not just to go to the restroom. Okay, and I say it not just to go to the bathroom, but I say it because I go in there. I go before I would even go in that conference room. If you were with me before I go into some of these sales calls that I go on, I stop at McDonald's and go to the bathroom. But I don't really go to the bathroom. I go in front of the mirror. Okay, and I always check from the top down. Do I have boogers in my nose? Is there something in my teeth? Do I have my zipper unzipped? I always do that. Yeah. It's become a habit. And if I could say anything, it's that habit. You have to create and consistently do these little habits. And so I know before I even walk in there that I'm up to standards. Okay? I'm like right before. I mean, I think a lot of it is when you first get in the military and you're sitting in those squads, and you have those inspections. You're creating this confident person before you even walk in there, and so you don't know who you're going to meet. Yeah. So all of a sudden you walk in there and there's that person. Well, that's great. Let's say let's say that the person's there. I walk up to them and I say, I sit down next to them. That's basically what we're talking about. I sit down next to them, and I'm just inside. I have some energy, but I see how they're sitting. Okay, so I sit just like they do. Okay.
How you mirror?
Correct. First of all, okay, and I sit just like they do. I do what anybody else does, and I'll say, "Hey, how are you today?" And they'll say, "Oh, I'm fine." So I sit just like they do, and I kind of pause a second, and I'll look, and I'll be like, gosh, I heard this is oh man, I think I just met you just a little while ago at the booth from such and such. If that's what happened, I mean, you see how I cut it off like that? I was going for one conversation and then cut it and went to them. Um, did you catch that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I mean, it's fast, but it's one of those things, and I do that a lot. It's just like we're here at a conference.
Repeat that so we can understand.
so, like when I
It
said,
doesn't come intuitively to some of us.
right. Well, and it's not that I'm not being genuine. It's just a way I start conversations a lot of times. So if I already know that person is there, if I don't even know that that's who that is, the idea of conferences is to meet the person you're sitting next to. Okay, so I'll go in there and I'll say you're up there speaking, and I'll say, man, I've heard Bruce Benedict was pretty good and at speaking at it. Did I run into you? And if I recognize them, I immediately say, man, you were at the Booz Allen or say wherever. You were behind that counter earlier, weren't you? I thought I ran into, and it's just a good conversation piece. Yeah, man, what
you asked them a question.
I just did, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You asked them a question, and instead of telling them about yourself, you asked them the question. You gave them the microphone.
That's correct.
You asked them a question. So unlike it's an open-ended statement, whatever, it's a question. That person is now obligated, at least in the United States, inherently,
right,
culturally, to answer you.
Right, and it was a short question. I mean, it was just, especially if I recall seeing them, I'll always do that. But I'll interrupt what I'm saying myself. Like I was in midstream of talking about you being the speaker up there, and I cut myself off to say, man, don't I know you someplace, or you pay that person a compliment. Now you got to remember here, we're not here to, first of all, compliments. That's such a great way to start a conversation, and I have done that so many times. You don't start a conversation with a compliment to pick up people. Okay, we don't want to do that. It's to be professional again. It's to be professional, and it is to remember you genuinely want to know about them, and people want to hear compliments. And so, and say for instance, I don't care who it is. Say for instance, that person right there was the cologne that they were wearing, or the perfume, or the clothing, or the shoes, or just saying a little bit of something. But you sit just like they do, and say it's shoes. Like, oh man, I really like those shoes. Where'd you get those at? Again, it's the who, what, why, when, and where.
Okay, that was another question.
Correct.
No, that's good.
And it leads in.
I actually like that.
Yeah.
That's really good. Okay, so let's just focus right now on the how to initiate, right? Just how to initiate whatever. We're just gonna leave it blank. So what you're telling me is that what you do and what you've learned, because you're extremely good at it, is that you will, once you've identified the individual, you'll sit down next to them nonchalantly as if it's an accident. You will sit or stand just like them, which is mirroring, which actually makes them feel comfortable and as if they know you already. And then you will talk about a subject, and in that sentence, convert the sentence into a question. So they have to actually answer it.
Right. And usually, usually I don't even start. I guess usually I don't even start the conversation asking them a question. Usually it's about something completely different. And I'll say, well, let's take a look at. First of all, never discount anybody depending on what they wear, how they present themselves. Never judge the book by the cover. Okay, number one rule. So, say I'm in the lobby of this place at a food court, and you have a lady that's she's fixing, and let's say it's kind of a buffet style, but there's a lot of people, so she's having to refill things and throw away things, and she's very, very busy. To her, that's her world, and even if she's making $5 an hour or $8 an hour, she deserves a compliment if she's doing well. And so, what we have to remember is that the law of return is what you have to really think that way, because it is true. It's you give. So you give a compliment, you don't want anything back. So really, when you're networking, you can't really go into networking saying, I'm going to do this so I can get this guy to give me a job. It doesn't work that way. The world works in mysterious ways. You have to genuinely be interested in each one of these people, and it will just work out. And so, for instance, the lady that's filling all the food up, I'll just use an instance, that happened about a month ago, is she's filling the food up at this place and doing a great job. I've been to many places that are in the same type of realm, and they've been horrible. Food not filled, nothing out there, whatever. And it seems minor, but it's important to keep the conference folks, happy. And this particular person realizes it. Didn't hardly say a word to anybody. She's just filling this and cleaning that and this. And I was getting my food, and I said, "Yeah, that coffee is that." Or I want to say I said something like that. Coffee really tasting good this morning. And by the way, you're doing a great job, and I just want to let you know that. Have you done this long? Again, it's the who, why, when, where, and how. Okay, or like I just said, have you done this long? You're one of the better people that I've seen that actually do this particular job. And she says, "Well, thank you," and you could actually have she wants to talk about that. And well, it is hard, and I said, I could only imagine. And then you get into asking more questions about that. Come to find out, she is married to a very important person. You don't know where that network is. You genuinely have to be nice and care for everyone for this thing to work out. And you're not doing it for any reward. You're doing it because the law of rewards says it will come back to you in other ways. Okay? And it's important to know that. But I think mirroring somebody is actually good, and I think responding instead of reacting is good. I think a lot of it has to do with your voice. You start off calm with your voice. You have to kind of get a calm voice, a trustworthy voice. Find out once you start asking them questions how they speak. So if they speak in a slow draw, then you're going to continue to do the slow draw. If they speak rapidly, like maybe a East Coaster, I'd say like a New Yorker, or I just use that as an example, or a New Jersey, you're going to have to speed up your talk, or they're going to get bored really quick. So you are mirroring them, really, and you're not only doing that with your voice, you're doing that with your body language as well. So
yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So if we were to break down, how to initiate the networking process to anybody at any time, then what we would say then is we would identify the individual. We would mirror whatever their physical features are. We would try to mirror whatever their verbal communication method is, right? We're going to initiate a statement that leads to a question all in one breath. And once they answer that question, we need to be, we need to be involved in inquisitive to what it is they just said.
Right. I tell you, and you know,
Right, so,
you hit it right there on the nail too. Is that all these things come into play? The biggest thing is listening. And once you ask the questions, to actually listen to what they say, and I can't stress that enough. It takes some practice. We've discussed it in other podcasts. Is that if you listen, people will tell you little bitty clues, okay, and then you can ask them questions about it. But yet, you're genuinely interested in people, and so it shows through. Now, one thing I was going to talk about, clarify a little bit with the mirroring of your body language is, if someone has like I'm sitting up right now on this desk, and if I was sitting across from somebody or next to somebody, I could, without saying anything, just try it. I say just try it at any of these conferences, at home, anywhere, is you lean up on the table. Don't make it obvious. Do it subtle, as if it's just part of what you do. When they lean back in a few minutes, you lean back, and if they've got their feet crossed, you cross your feet. And you'll be amazed, even in the doctor's office, you'll be amazed just doing something like that, how the connection. You may even have somebody coming up and say, "Man, don't I know you from somewhere? You're familiar." It's really strange how that works.
yeah.
The other thing is, once you take a general interest in people, a lot of that falls into place. Also, the most important person because this takes energy, the most important person at the time that you're talking is the other person. Okay? They don't really care how well your day went. You might have had a bad day just 5 minutes ago. They don't need to know that. Talking to them isn't a reason for you to get things off your chest. Okay? And it's hard. It's hard to do that until you keep practicing. The object is to get them to talk.
I think you made a great point, and for a lot of us who transition out of the military, we're used to having a pincushion, is what I call it, and more times than not, the pincushion is our spouse. For better or for worse.
Right.
The military spouse, God love them to death. They put up with a lot.
Yes, they do.
And one of the things they put up with is to be our pincushion. And they get stuck with all of the negativity that we bring home.
Oh, I know.
Through our military career, during the transition, and then when we're into our civilian career.
Right.
And they take it. It's amazing to me. But why I bring that up is whether you have a spouse who accepts the duty, I guess, of being a pincushion, or you have a friend who's your pincushion, right? Or you have a relative who's your pincushion. The fact of the matter is, the pincushion should not be the person that you are applying for a job with.
No.
Everything you say to that individual has to be
Has to be positive.
And you reserve all the negative talk,
right?
All the negative emotions, facial features, aggravation for your pincushion.
Right.
And I would even tell you that you need to make sure that your pincushion knows that they're your pincushion. All right? You need to let them know. Like my spouse. Look, I grew up in high school with my spouse. As a matter of fact, I knew my spouse when I was in kindergarten. All right? And I told her as I entered the military as an E1, look, hon, you really signed up to be my pincushion. All right? Do you want to be the pincushion or not?
Right.
She's like, hey, I'll be a pincushion. And she's a good one.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And she takes it. I don't know how she does it. She takes it. But what I'm saying is she knows that I am allowed to vent
right.
the negativity to her because it just bounces off of her. I don't know how she does it. That's the backbone of a military spouse. Right?
Yeah. And that's the secret.
You cannot allow the negativity to progress into the organization that you're trying to apply to.
Right. And I think, really when you're applying for a position someplace, when you're interviewing, when you're networking in a conference, you don't want any negativity. And I think that's really, it takes energy. And I think that's a lot of times why people are really silent and quiet in situations like that, because it does take energy. Because it's very easy to be negative, but it's a little harder to be positive and not talk about yourself. But you want to be the ray of sunshine on their day, and that's what you want to. You want to be the sunshine on their day. So,
I tell people all the time. I've been a supervisor of people forever and a day, and that's an extremely negative atmosphere that you're trying to be as positive as possible and motivate people. If I'm sitting in a job booth or I'm hiring somebody and I'm interviewing somebody for a job, one of the key factors that I really would love to have is that the person interviewing for that job makes me feel better at the end of their interview than what I felt at the beginning. Because I want that energy in my organization.
Right.
I want their positivity in my organization. Whether or not they know anything about the job, it has a factor to it. But the positivity and the energy is what I need in my organization.
Right. You put a bad apple in there and it spreads like wildfire. And so you have to have positive people that aren't afraid to make a mistake. And I think we only have about 2 minutes left. So, but one thing is that you can't. I always say this too. You can't be afraid of your shadow. Okay, what are they going to do? What's the harm? It's like when you're in, say, I'll just say high school, or you're in college, or you're in some environment, and you don't want to go up there and talk to the girl that you think is attractive or something. Okay, why? What can they say? I mean, really, when you get down to it, the only thing we're afraid of, it's perfect. I believe it's Theodore Roosevelt. The only thing we fear is fear itself. That's it. And if you're calm, confident, you're not afraid of anything. So you know that there's a possibility of that, but it's really not a big deal. You have to have so many no's before you have a yes. And so what are you afraid of when you're networking with people? You just have to have the energy to be positive. If you are a positive light in their day, they're going to remember you, because most of the people are negative and they just blend in. So if you're positive, and on the back, especially if there's a service member, if you give them your card, why not say thank you for your service?
90 seconds.
On the back of that card, thank you for your service. If you're giving this card even to somebody that, say for instance, say you were hiring somebody, and the guy gave you his card. On the back of it, there was something on the back of it. Thank you for your service, Major. And I mean, that just makes you feel good. You're not going to forget the guy. So
Right.
Because nobody does it. It's the little things, you know. So,
60 seconds. It's the little things.
So yeah, we have
the little things indicate how big your character actually is.
Right. And so you got, you know, in about 10 seconds or so, do you have anything you want to end on, Bruce?
Yeah, I just, the only thing I want to talk about is, lastly, is face your fear and go for it.
Yeah.
It's a fear of talking. It's a fear of meeting people. It's a fear of connecting or networking. Guess what? Face it, identify it, and just go for it.
Right.
Speak the statement, lead it into a question, and force the other individual to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
That's how you get over it.
And go to battlefieldresumes.com and build the business of you. Hey, thanks, Bruce. We'll catch you guys on the next podcast.